right, Joel, you want to cue the music? Oh, yeah. Here we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Eat, Sleep, Install, Repeat podcast. I'm your host, Rudy Taliani, and as always, I'm joined by Joel Hilditch. How's it going, Joel?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing good. We are on episode 9, and today we've got something a little different planned. We are going to be talking about Sony home products with Andrew Turner, but I thought today we'd try something a little different, and I'm going to turn over the first mic over to Joel.
To me?
Yeah, to you.
Wow.
He's acting surprised, but he knows that.
I'm so unprepared.
Joel's kind of our in-house Sony expert. He kind of, well, I'll let him tell you why he qualifies for this.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, the television world's a little crazy. Prices changing all the time, so I've become the kind of the Sony guy here at Davis, like Rudy said, and so that means I put in all the parts and all the weekly specials and pricing. So I've kind of touched just about every model there is in the Sony home lineup. So
you add it to the website.
Add it to the website. Yeah. I just, find all the details out kind of before everyone else does sometimes. So I guess you could call me a little bit of an expert.
Yeah, and every time I have a question or whatever, Joel, you know the part number off the top of your head.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
The new one's still kind of getting a little used to. That's actually what we're going to be talking about today is 2 new Bravia projectors, the Bravia 8 and the Bravia 9. And some frames for the Leon frames for the Bravia 7 TVs. And I guess it's really just a great time to bring Andrew in because, I mean, he's here. He's the expert.
Before we do that, should we do sponsorship?
You're right. We should do the sponsors.
Okay. Let's cover the sponsors.
This week's episode is sponsored by Sony. Sony's home side offers televisions, projectors, AV receivers, soundbars, and much more. Of course, you can get all your Sony home-related products right here at Davis, which kind of leads me into our other sponsor.
Do you own a consumer electronics custom install shop? Davis Distribution Systems is here to help you succeed. We are a regional wholesale distributor serving Ohio, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Indiana, Kentucky, Maryland, Virginia, Southern New Jersey, Delaware, and DC. We offer a wide range of top quality products including 12-volt audio, video navigation, tint, home audio and video, and all the accessories you need to complete your installs. If you're looking to elevate your work, reach out to us today and see how we can support your business.
All right, so on today's episode, as Rudy said earlier, we have Andrew Turner. He is the Custom Integration Training Manager. Andrew, welcome to the podcast.
Welcome, Andrew.
Hey there, Joel. Rudy, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, we're very excited to have you. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? How'd you get started in the industry?
Oh boy, where do we go from there? So I've been a junkie for this stuff, pretty much, ever since I was a kid. And then, when somebody, a long time ago told me that, you can actually play around with this stuff and, get people to buy it and you can actually make a career and a living on this. I'm like, man, sign me up. So again, I've, been around it for ages, huge Sony fan back from the, way back in my early days of retail. And even when, I had my own business and understanding the struggles that happen right there and, how to manage the installation side, the purchasing side. And, Sony was always one of those, just kind of pie in the sky products that I loved working with. And, about 10 years ago, it's all been longer than that now, probably it's close to 15 years now. I'm getting closer to that coming on board with Sony. I got the opportunity to come on and be the ES product specialist and trainer. And, it's just been an absolute riot again to work with all of these great projectors, seeing the evolution that we've gone through over the past several years. Projectors in 2010, they were 1080p. And then 2011, we released that very first 4K projector. Mm-hmm. And to see it go from that wait a minute, is this 4K thing even ever going to happen? Is this a real product? Mm-hmm. And to see it go from where it was to where we are today is been quite the ride.
Yeah, it's real hard pressed now to find anything that's not 4K, to be honest with you. It seems like anyway to me.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much out there that is, 4K or at least, different flavors of it. And, and that's where also gets to be a lot of confusion about some of the product and understanding, what's the difference between some of the DLP and the LCD technologies, what's a native 4K versus a simulated 4K, and of course it gets into that's where you get into these widely varying price ranges and performance levels as well. And unfortunately for the end user and consumer that's ultimately going to be watching these in their home, the only thing they see on paper is a couple of specs and say, well, this one says it's 4K, it says it has so many lumens, it says it has a laser light source, whatever the case may be. And the cheapest number, lowest price, unfortunately, oftentimes wins. And again, that's where it's really kind of our job here is to be the kind of the evangelist for the product, for lack of a better term, there to helping people understand. It's not just about a spec, but it's also about this entire process that really makes you've got to look at a global, the product from a global positioning. And why, different 4K, why 4Ks are different and what's best for you.
So not all 4Ks are created equal.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And so you said you got your start in retail?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, my first job in the industry was, if you remember, Incredible Universe. It was a offshoot of Tandy and Radio Shack, and It was their attempt to go to the big box experience. And I rode that out for a number of years here in Arlington, Texas, and then got a chance to jump over into more upper end custom over in Dallas, and eventually ended up over at Hillcrest High Fidelity, which was the 50-year-old company there in town, and was a great ride with them until the Tweeter buyout, which of course many of us in this industry have been touched by Tweeter and knowing how well that went. So, but from there I got into again owned my own company for a couple of years before I got into the manufacturing side.
What'd you do at your own company? Kind of installs, stuff like that?
Everything.
Everything, yeah. So, everything you could.
Absolutely. I was the everything from the president to the garbage man, and so that's as it is for a lot of us in this industry. There's especially as you get into some of the way that we can. Clients are always asking, for different things, and we have to be able to wear many hats and jump in. And I really would do everything from the sales to the purchasing. I'd be out there on installations with my guys sometimes, trying to wrap those things up, and dealing with different manufacturers, dealing with distributors, trying to figure out how to make a buck or two in this industry was always the hard part.
And so a lot of your installs were on the field type stuff, newer locations, things like that?
Yeah, it was mixed. It was about 70-30 retro versus new construction. So I did have a good client base that I when I started my company here, because I had a number of clients who followed me from as the other ones started going downhill there, and they followed me over, and then a couple of builder relationships. So again, nice mix of both new construction and retro.
And when did you kind of switch over? What year was it?
Oh gosh, that was 2006, I believe it was. So when I saw the writing on the wall, and how difficult some of the market conditions were becoming, and I had a nice opportunity to get out and go to the manufacturer side. I actually ended up going to work for Rumco for several years there, or a couple of years, I should say, in kind of a similar type position. I was a product specialist for Rumco up until their real downfall. A couple of years later.
Well, you got with Sony, so I don't think we can see a downfall in their future anytime soon.
Yeah, 2006 too. That was right before the crash. So
yeah, I gotta say, in retrospect, it all was great timing, and kind of everything worked out. Pretty awesome, I gotta say.
Well, you said Sony was one of your favorite manufacturers when you had your own stuff anyway, so I think it all kind of worked out for the best for you.
Absolutely. It's an interesting company. I've always got kind of there's been a love-hate relationship with some of it coming over the years that it's like, wow, these things are amazing. And then, wow, why did they do some of the things that they do? So being able to see that kind of inside part and, see how some of these things make a little bit more sense has been a good part of it.
Is there something that you think you're more specialized in within the lineup, or is it kind of just you try to get everything?
Oh boy, yeah, that's a good question. So, I like to think my experiences are pretty broad based. I am a little bit more on the I've got a real strong 2-channel and hi-fi background, but my real specialty I would say is more on the video side. I used to unfortunately I don't get to do any of the calibrations and everything that I used to do a lot of, but really getting deep into the technologies, the setup aspects of the projectors, of the TVs, and what can we really do? All right, we've got this great box. How can we extract the most out of it? Has been a big thing, and it's that's kind of one of the neat things that they've done with this is they've led us to really help out, and what do we need to have settings wise in projectors? What do we need from out of box perspective? What do we need to do? There, and so our engineering crews are leaning pretty heavily on us into helping, saying, hey, y'all are the experts in the industry. You know how custom installers are working with this product in the field. How can we make it better for you guys on the install side?
Right, and I think that's awesome too, because they're, like you said, they're the engineers, and not to dig on them or anything, but they probably are just sitting in the the lab and thinking up the best way they think things are going to work, when in all reality you guys are the one, or hands-on yeah,
out in the field.
Right.
Oh yeah, man. So, I cover central U.S., basically Texas, the Dakotas, over to Pittsburgh, back down through Louisiana, and I've got an East Coast, West Coast counterpart with Kayvon and Russell, but even East Coast, West Coast, Central custom installs are different. And how we do stuff here is radically different from what they're doing in Europe or Asia or anywhere else in the world. So, to help the engineers understand how, again, very specifically the U.S. custom market works has been a big challenge over the years. And, we've done a great job of getting them on board with us.
Awesome. Well, I think we should jump right into the Bravia projectors. I know I'm excited to learn a lot more about them. I've seen some stuff here and there, and obviously I think we just got in the 8, and we're still waiting on the 9. But why don't you go ahead and jump right into that and teach us some more about them?
All right, outstanding. So yeah, Bravia Projector 8 and Bravia Projector 9 are shipping. So those are part of our new lineup, and it's a little bit different naming nomenclature for if you're wait a minute, what's this Bravia Projector thing? So the XW 7000 and XW 6000 ES series projectors are being replaced by the XW 8100 and 6100. I have to make sure I get my model numbers right there. But they do have that nomenclature, also naming that matches in with what we're doing on the TV side with the Bravia televisions, the Bravia 7, the Bravia 8, Bravia 9 TVs. And so let's have a Bravia Projector 8 and Bravia Projector 9 to go along with it. All right, so if you get the details here on the Bravia Projector 8 and Bravia Projector 9, again, these are replacing that 61 or 6000, 7000. So a lot of this is going to be really similar. You're going to notice the cabinet's really the same. The lens looks to be the same, which it is. It's the same lens, same cabinet, but we made a couple of really important upgrades inside. The first one addresses brightness. Of course, who doesn't want more brightness? This is something that we're always asking for is, how can we get these things brighter? So we did bump them up to 2700 and to 3400 lumens, respectively. We are also added the a new processing in these projectors as well. So this is really the biggest change is that they get the XR processor, which, if you're familiar with Sony TVs, and this is the great thing about selling a Sony product is that, it doesn't matter if it's a 55-inch, Bravia 7 or heck, let's go in the projectors all the way up to the $90,000 GTZ 380. The key difference between these products is not the tech, there's technology differences there, but it's all technology that's geared towards the right scope, size and scope of image that we're trying to recreate. I'm not going to put a 55-inch, maybe even a Bravia 8 OLED or an A95 OLED, the king of TVs. As great as a TV as that is, I'm not going to put a 55-inch into a home cinema. And vice versa, I might not put a 200-inch projection screen in somebody's bedroom. So again, really size and scope. But by upgrading the new projectors to the XR processor, we're getting a whole lot of additional horsepower behind these. That's letting us do things like a fully dynamic frame-by-frame tone mapping, even deeper blacks, even better color, and even better clarity with the XR clear image. So, a couple of really cool processing tricks that have been added into the mix here. The one that we really want to kind of talk the most about is the tone mapping, though, because tone mapping is something that I think a lot of people don't really understand on projectors, and how that can really impact the image and the brightness that you're getting from an image. So televisions, for example, it's easy to do 1,000 nits, right? TVs do that all the time. But now that we're getting content that's actually mastered not only at 1,000 nits, but 4,000 nit masters are actually pretty common now from the theatrical point of view. And we're doing all of that on a Sony TriMaster monitor, which is a 4,000 nit perfect reference monitor. But the problem is your projectors are only going to get 150, 200 nits at the very best. Have y'all ever had anybody complain about the brightness of an HDR image?
I mean, from experience, from projectors, they do tend to lean dark.
Yeah, see, that's always the big gripe is, projectors will tend to lean dark for HDR content. But what happens, and again, the reason that's happening, and it doesn't matter, really whose projector you're using, is the projector has to preserve some of that dynamic range and that headroom to be able to hit high peak brightness. So since a projector is only going to get 150 nits, usually again, 200 maybe the very best for HDR content versus the 1,000 nit that you're getting on your TV, it's always going to look darker. So here's where, kind of our, processing, kind of comes through. And we did, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to set these up everywhere, but I've got some screenshots here that actually show the difference between the more scene by scene tone mapping that we were doing on the previous, 7,000 versus what we're doing here on the 8100. So this shot that I've got up here is from playing off of Kaleidoscape. This is the Amy Winehouse biopic, Back to Black. And in this scene here, you can see on that one on the left, man, let me ask you guys, do y'all see the drummer back there?
Mm-mm. No, not at all.
No, man, he kind of disappears. But what we're trying to do with this is we're trying to show a very balanced image to get the appropriate level black to give you the appropriate highlights. But the projector sees this as a darker scene, so it's going to go a little bit darker. But on the right, can you see the drummer?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And wait a minute. Oh, wow. All of a sudden, we got 3 musicians back there on the right here. Maybe and I can even see a little bit of that crowd. And that's because here, and also that middle image, just as a point of reference, is one of our OLED TVs. So this is, showing how the projector, while still not going to get as bright as a panel, now with this fully frame by frame tone mapping, we can take a look at every bit of the image and get the appropriate level of brightness and shadow detail all at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, that example that you're showing us right there, I mean, the image on the left is definitely darker. The image on the right, even though it is lighter, it still has nice contrast to it though as well. So it's still a nice image, even though it is lighter.
Absolutely, and this is really the choice that we have to make as from a processing perspective. And again, everybody has to do this because we can't get bright enough. Is we have to choose, what do we show? Do we show high brightness? Do we show deep blacks? Do we try and split the difference? And again, this is always kind of where we fall is we try and split the difference to show as much theatrical and creative intent as possible. But unfortunately, it does result in that lower brightness image. If I tried to make it really bright without being able to take all of these things into account, we're going to start to raise those black levels. We're going to start blowing out that contrast. We're going to start losing highlight detail.
Yeah.
So speaking of some highlight detail, let's take a look at two more images here. This is from the film Alpha. Anybody ever seen this movie?
I haven't.
No, I'm not familiar.
I've never seen it, but the Hollywood tech guys who really are working on advancing the art of filmmaking and the use of high brightness. This is just a spectacular shot of a kind of an art house cinema type piece here. I don't think there's actually any dialogue in it. I've never watched the whole movie, but I've seen lots of clips. But in this, the reason that this one is important is this is the film that was, I think, more shot to show what we can do from a tone mapping and a bright cinema perspective for Hollywood. And this is a big part of getting directors on board with shooting high brightness content. So this was shot, again, at 4,000 nits. And again, you're seeing a result of having to make some of those choices. So on the left is the XW7000, which was a great image. No complaints at all there. But you can see in that sky, what happened to some of the color in the sky.
Yeah. It was blown out before, and now you can actually see the outline of the sun.
That's what I was gonna say. You can actually see where the sun is rather than just pure white almost.
And the darkers look richer to me on the one on the right, without the overall image being blown out.
Man, great catch on that, because everybody notices the sun right there. But what I'll actually have a lot of people comment on is, wait a minute, I don't see as much detail maybe in the shadow area on the right. And it's like, yeah, you're not supposed to.
Right.
It's the shadow.
It's the contrast. That's what's bringing it to life.
Oh, man, awesome, dude. I'm glad y'all caught that, because, that's definitely one of those things that we like to point out with this clip is that, we can do bright and we can do dark, contrasty blacks all at the same time.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah.
All right, and bumping forward here a little bit, one more slide here. So this is a competitive sample of tone mapping right here. Like I said, we're all making choices. So this is a competitor's. This is a shot from Interstellar and a competitive projector versus our tone mapping. And again, the competitors are doing some really good tone mapping. I know they're doing some frame by frame and dynamic tone mapping as well. But there's, like I mentioned, choices that are being made here. And the choice that was made in this particular clip is to make it really bright. And, as looking down on the space stations kind of breaking up over the planet there, I can see lots of detail on one side, and the other is just a little bit more blown out.
Definitely.
So again, and this is what I like about having that OLED reference monitor down there at the bottom, is a kind of a referee in the room to say, okay, well, wait a minute, which one are we supposed to see? Well, again, OLED being dialed in, for the HDR content is showing us the content the way it was meant.
And you said that what was it called? The master monitor type thing. That's what most of these studios are using to master and everything. The color, brightness, all that stuff?
Absolutely. So the Sony BVM TriMaster monitor has been the studio standard for, going on a couple of decades now, but in the 4K world, it's, the very first ones came out in, I think, 2015 here off the top of my head, about that time frame, and they were actually OLED. With those original TriMaster monitors. But the problem was they could go perfect brightness and color up to 1,000 nits, but then above 1,000 nits, they crushed. So we would have to go, we do our color grading on the Sony, then they do the brightness grading on a Dolby Pulsar monitor. But with the BVMX 310 that's available to studios today, it does everything up to 4,000 nits. Absolutely perfect. And so this makes it a lot easier for the filmmakers to go through, and because in one pass they can go through and they can grade color, they can grade contrast, they can grade brightness, they can all do this all in one pass. So it makes the filmmaking process much easier, which gets us better quality content, higher brightness content. But then we have to know what to do with it to be able to recreate it on the in the home environment.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is kind of that Sony story that no matter what you're looking at, we feel that we've got the ability to go through and since we made the content, we have a better understanding of how the creators wanted you to view it in your home.
Mm-hmm.
What an interesting story.
Yeah, because I mean, you guys really do have, from the cameras to the monitors that they're, editing on to the final product in someone's house. I mean, it's really all Sony. So you guys can kind of, make sure everything's good at every point, basically.
Absolutely. And so, when somebody asks, well, ultimately that big question of, hey, why would I get a Sony over XYZ, whether against TV or, projector, even audio? It's, hey, look at the name that pops up at the very beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It still gives me chills to this day when I go to a theater and I see that Sony logo pop up on the screen. I'm like, man,
that's
how
awesome.
did I get to work for this company?
Right.
You get a little bit of pride there.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
So let's see. So let's bump along here. So we'll recap here with with our projector lineup. Of course, those Bravia Projector 8s, Bravia Projector 9s are all new and shipping today. But they're not the end of the lineup. We do have the world's most affordable true native 4K projector with the XW5000. That one is continuing as is. Still, I think the best bargain in a laser 4K projector that's out there. And again,
people love the 5000.
Oh yeah, it's such a great little projector right there. So easy to set up. And I think glad to hear y'all getting good feedback on it.
Oh yeah, all the time.
And then if you've got somebody who wants to go really all the way out there, there is the GTZ 380, which is just a monster. I don't know if have y'all ever picked one of those up or tried to put one of those in?
I haven't.
I don't think so.
Oh yeah, you'd know it if you had almost 150 pounds fully loaded up once it's going on the ceiling with the mount and everything.
And you're worried because it costs about $100-some thousand?
Oh, no, just under. So we're 88,000 in its most popular configuration.
There you go.
But it's it's a great projector, and you stepped up to the big leagues too when you need 220 going to your projector.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I can.
Wow.
Yeah. So you're already worried because it weighs a ton, and then you're worried because you're
pushing power to it.
Pushing power to it, and you one false move, and there goes that.
Yeah. No, that's I definitely want to have all hands on deck for lifting that one up.
Right.
But, it's kind of funny that we joke about the 5000, the 8, the 9 being so so much lighter weight, so much more installer friendly. But when you get up to that level, it comes down to raw performance, and it just does take a big old box to make that performance happen. The cool thing though is we can put it in a room and it's quiet.
Oh really?
Usually when you get to this level of projector, it's great because they're so bright, but they create so much noise. You've got to completely isolate them from the room. But this is something that you can hang right there in the theater, right above a seat, and you're never going to hear it. Just super whisper quiet.
Well,
is that due to super beefy like internal cooling type of stuff? It just has a really good mechanism for that.
Oh, absolutely. It's liquid cooled for one,
Okay.
so that helps really cut down the fan noise that we can use that liquid cooled mechanism in there. And then of course it's also a variable output, so it's only going to ramp up the fans as needed for extremely bright, extremely demanding scenes, and that's usually when there's lots of crashing and booming going on, and then it will tone back as needed there. So really, and even in those scenes, it's really hard to tell that it's making any noise at all.
Well, I see also too. You have the Projector 9 and the Bravia Projector 9, and the Projector 8 up there as like a comparison. What would you say like for our dealers installing these, like what would the step up be? Like what kind of customer would want to make the step up from the Projector 8 to the Projector 9?
Oh, that's a great question. So, because when you look at these two on paper, they both have the, same chassis design. They both have the same lens, the all-range crisp focus lens. What most people catch is the 2700 lumens to 3400 lumens. Mm-hmm. Again, we're creatures that look at specs. And so we see that, you're getting that extra bump in brightness, but you're also getting, it's double the money. So where's that value? And why is it so expensive? The problem that you have when creating a brighter projector is it's much more difficult to add brightness to an image. When you add brightness to an image, you typically are washing out color saturation. You're typically washing out black levels, right? So to get a projector to go brighter without losing is difficult on its own. But what most people miss, and it's kind of buried on the spec sheet over there on that far right side, is the live color enhancer. This is the one feature that honestly doesn't get talked about enough on the Bravia Projector 9, because what that's doing is that's not only maintaining color as the projector gets bright, but it actually really expands the color volume and the color pop and those bright images. So if you've got a larger screen, having that higher color volume that remains extremely accurate really is, in my opinion, is actually even more noticeable than higher brightness. And if you've got a room that has, hey, maybe you're going to be watching your projector in the room with some ambient light. You're turning on the lights during the day when you're watching football. That additional color pop for those fields, for those skies, everything, those bright colored uniforms is really going to pop a lot more with the Projector 9 over the Projector 8. So yeah, it's a big jump price wise, but with the additional brightness, with the additional color, it does make really a pretty night and day difference between the two. Typically, when you look at, say a speaker that goes up, that much in price, is it better? Sure. Mm-hmm. Is it, wow, night and day difference? Not always.
Right.
So that's one thing I love about video is that there are such clear steps between the 5, the 8, the 9, and the GTZ 380.
Mm-hmm. And I think, like Rudy said, Jared was going to be on the episode. He's out, but he actually got to see these at CEDIA. And he said, you guys, I think you had them kind of up against each other. Was that the show maybe that off a little bit?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, again, we oftentimes do demos and setups where we will show projectors one after the other, so you can really see and experience the difference between them. Mm-hmm. And again, if it's just a very subtle, very very minor difference, it's going to be a lot harder for some people, and whether we're a dealer, and oftentimes as a dealer, I would have to kind of justify a product myself. To say, wow, if I present this client these two projectors, and there's only a little bit of difference between them, I'm going to have a hard time as a dealer really properly promoting that. So, we can go through and we can look at the 5000 versus the 8, the 9, or the GTZ, and again see very clear, very distinct steps between the entire lineup. So you can go to your client and really offer them a very good value proposition performance at whatever price point best suits their theater.
Did you go to CEDIA this year?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Did you have a good show?
We had a great show. It was a little bit different this year because we didn't do the big training booths at the rooms at CEDIA that we normally do. So I got to spend a lot of time on the floor and visit with dealers. And my theater that I was in charge of was the Projector 8 on that was a really amazing little theater, and we were just blowing people away with the performance of that room. Well, any other questions there on Projector, or we want to talk a little bit about some how to hide that TV?
Well, I just had one more question. The ACF lens, could you go into a little bit more detail about that? Because I think that's just something I'd like to know a little bit more about.
Oh, yeah, sure thing. So All right, so I mentioned, kind of a little bit, that, projectors are much more than just a spec. We have to look at the imager. We have to look at the optics. We have to look at the light source. We have to look at and of course the processing, or the four key elements I think that really make up a great projector. So all of our projectors are 4K SXRD. This is a native 3-chip system using red, green, and blue chipsets, all made internally in-house by Sony. And we're producing all 8 million pixels at one point of time. No shifting, no color wheels, no tricks or magic mirrors involved. It's all the pixels, all the light color at once. Then we have our light source, which is, again, a Sony-built, designed, and engineered laser. We're not buying a laser from some third party and retroing it into our projector. Our lasers are entirely built in-house. Processing, we talked a little bit about our XR processor and what a great job that does, whether it's adding live color, but then the lens, the optics. This is one of those other elements that people oftentimes will overlook. And we make all of these in-house at Sony as well. So the ACF lens, the all-range crisp focus lens, is kind of the baby brother to the ARC-F that we have on the GTZ 380. So that one is an 18-element, 110 millimeter lens. The lens itself on that projector weighs about 30 pounds. It's just a massive, massive piece of glass and very, very expensive to create. But what makes that lens so good is the quality of the elements that are contained in it. It has floating focus groups. So our edge-to-edge, corner-to-corner focus is just, really pristine. Very little variance as you move left to right, top to bottom on with the floating focus groups. The other part that makes that lens really special is the extra low dispersion glass. Low dispersion glass gives you better color because you're passing all that color through there, and color fringing is a real common thing with optics. So this eliminates any color fringing. It also gives you deeper blacks. It gives you better contrast, and ultimately, by having these high quality elements, we're able to pass more of the light through to the screen. Well, the all-range crisp focus is, like I said, is a kind of a baby version of that ARC-F. It is a 70 millimeter lens. It's using 13 all glass elements in it. It's using those floating focus groups, that extra low dispersion glass. It is motorized. It does have a really wide range of throw, quoting off the top of my head, by 1.28 to 2.83-ish, somewhere in there. So, but pretty wide range. We do have the Sony Projector simulator on SonyPremiumHome.com that'll help do the math for you, though, so you don't have to remember those exact numbers. Plug in your aspect ratio and screen size, and it'll spit it out for you. But yeah, it's those optics that really do make a big difference in that ultimate output picture. And again, being all Sony optics, if anybody knows what Sony does on the camera side, you can real quickly understand what we're doing from a reproduction side in our projectors.
Right.
Well, that was my one question too, was because we're familiar with cameras and everything like that. And one of the issues that we kind of run into, shooting is chromatic aberration. So, where something's bumped up, a light is bumped right up against the dark, and it causes sort of the shift in color right on the seam of it. Is that something that you guys have to deal with even in the projector realm?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I was going to say maybe even more so from a projector standpoint, because we're at the camera where you're trying to capture maybe high brightness content. Here we're pushing that light directly through that lens. And so, chromatic aberration is a very real thing. And again, that's part of what we're looking at correcting with that, or preventing from happening, I should say, with that extra low dispersion glass. It less color fringing, less chromatic aberration.
All right. So one more question about the projectors before we move on to the frames. Are these good for gaming, for end users? The kids want to plug in the PlayStation, that kind of thing.
Oh man, I'm so glad you asked, because man, I was like trying to think if we covered everything, but yeah, man, you nailed it. So gaming is something I get asked about quite often, and honestly, what my response to eBay asking me out, hey, what about competitive gaming on these projectors? Well, man, if you're doing competitive gaming, you're not doing it on a projector, you're doing it on a monitor.
Right.
But I get it, man. Hey, I would have my kids, especially over the past couple of years with everybody being trapped in the house here. It's funny. I would have all of the kids over to the house, and we'd have giant slumber parties. I'd set up projectors. That's kind of one of those little perks of the gig, is I get some of these extra projectors, and I would set up multiple gaming stations. The kids would be having Fortnite battles and everything. And it was always a matter, kind of a battle of who got to play on the Sony gear, because it was so much faster. Now I'm the old guy here. I'm not a huge gamer, but hey, the kids swore to me, "Hey man, yeah, this is so much faster, and we're winning over the other guys who are playing on the slower projectors
because they're lagging out and stuff like that."
Absolutely lagging out. Now, this was again a few years ago. This was when we were on the PS4s, and we were doing everything at 60 hertz. But now that we're doing the PS5, we've got 4K 120. We've got this faster capability. We need to be able to handle this content and make sure that our input lag is really good. We've always been very good, but projectors have always struggled on some input lag. But with the Projector 8 and Projector 9, these do have an all-new HDMI 2.1 board in them. They do have a special gaming mode in here that is made, of course, it is color matched specifically to the PS5.
Obviously.
But it works great with other gaming systems. Well, of course, man, we got to go there.
Yeah, Sony.
Yep.
So you guys have it all.
Yeah, it's one-stop shop.
Man. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, we can kind of cover all that. But 4K 120 gaming is down to 12 milliseconds. So that is lightning fast.
And is the term for that, in terms of when we're talking about lagging, is that latency? Is that what the technical term for this scenario would be?
Absolutely. Okay. Well, input lag is latency is kind of where what we're most typically looking at. But overall input lag from the time it takes basically you to hit a command on the controller to how fast it replicates that image on the screen. At 12 milliseconds, that is almost as close to instantaneous as we can get. Now, if you can tell the difference between a 12 millisecond and a 10 millisecond, man, more power to you. But we are the fastest native 4K projector when it comes to input lag.
Maybe one day when we have chips in our brains, we'll be able to tell.
Yeah.
As it stands, not right now.
Not right now.
Yeah.
I think as I get older too, I probably wouldn't be able to tell. I mean, I started on the PlayStation 1, so.
Right.
Oh, man, we're going way back there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the 5000 is still great for gaming as well, but it's going to be limited to 1080p 120, which is still in that mid-teens. I'd have to double check that exact spec on get it right here, but at 1080 120, which actually a lot of games play even better at 1080 versus 4K. The 5000 is still great for gaming, but if you want that really ultimate gaming performance and a projector, the 8 and the 9 with that 4K 120 at sub 12 milliseconds is simply spectacular.
You said too about the gaming mode. So what exactly does that do? Does it put it into a different color profile or all that kind of, or what exactly does it do?
Change the settings
Absolutely.
for the input lag.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So our game mode is, you nailed it. It's setting the color profile. Again, it's matched to the PS5. And then also optimizing the processing to minimize input lag and to give you that best gaming performance possible. And since that's a preset on the controller, you can program it in, from the factory remote or from any of your control systems. It's a pre-configured IP, serial, or IR command. So when you go to that PlayStation 5, it'll automatically click. You can program it to automatically go to your game input, and you're always going to have the best gaming experience.
Well, I think our next topic was the Leon frames for the Bravia 7 TVs. Did you want to go over those?
Sure thing. So, so the projectors are great, and that was one of our big new products we showed at CEDIA. The other was the Leon Studio frame for our Bravia TVs. Now, unfortunately, or actually, I think it's a good thing that we're not doing homes like this anymore, where we've got TVs on the wall and that really just kind of stick out. We really want to go for a more studio, a living room aesthetic where the TV is not as big of a part of the living space, and that can really blend in much more neatly. But when we looked at the studio frame and how we could really design this the best, we first looked at kind of what's the other products that are out there. And unfortunately, what happens, we feel, with the other and this came from actually talking to dealers, asking them what's wrong with the current product out there and what can we do better. And the two big things we were told is, one, picture quality. Picture quality has got to look better. It doesn't matter if it can disappear when I don't want to watch TV on it anyway, because it's very low grade tech on the TV side. And then two, the installation's got to be real clean and real simple. So what we did, instead of trying to build, a whole frame product TV, that we decided to partner up with Leon and have them build a great frame. We made some great software, and we put these two things together to build an incredible TV that looks great for TV when you're watching it and doesn't look like a TV when you're not. So we took the Bravia 7 as our base TV for this, and we, which is a mini LED. It's that XR processor. It's got great brightness, great for living rooms and high brightness areas. And with that frame, we partnered up and had Leon build us a couple of different options. So it's available in a white, a studio oak, a walnut, and then a black frame finish. And again, this simply fits on top of our existing Bravia 7. And then when you look at it from a side profile, again, it is a little bit thicker of a frame than some of the other products that are out there, but it's very much like an art frame in your home.
That's what I was going to say. It looks just like a picture frame or something like that on the side view you have up there.
Absolutely. Oh, man, yeah. I love it when people catch that, because I look at these really, really thin ones. I'm like, wow, that looks cool. But man, I have concert posters on those.
Right.
It's not a fine work of art.
And for those who don't know, what does Leon do?
Okay, yeah, great question. So Leon is Leon Speakers is a U.S. company. They're actually based in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and they make really focused on building a very discrete line of speakers that matches in, very custom built to go with television. So they make frame bars that can exactly match in with TVs. They make integrated cabinets that put the TV and the speaker all in one. And they're, again, very lifestyle focused, but exceptional sound quality. So our partnership with them came from the fact that a lot of our dealers are purchasing Leon soundbars, because they will custom fit match those to the width and the size of the television, so you get a really good custom look to it. But when we are able to use their woodworking expertise, their manufacturing capability to build the framework. We build all the software, they build the mechanical side. And it worked out great.
It's a good partnership.
But yeah, so the software we developed all for this. So to match up with, and we've got over 150 works of art available for the TV. Mm-hmm. So when you put this in, and the way you'll set this up and the way you'll order it is you'll buy the TV, and then you'll buy the frame as a separate product.
So how does the software for the pictures and everything like that get onto the TV?
Okay, so great question. So you do have to buy two pieces when you're putting this in. One, you'll order your Bravia 7, 55, 65, 75, or 85, and then you'll order the matching Leon Studio frame to go with the TV. So we've got our install dashboard, which is the custom tool that we have on the TVs that lets you set up your inputs. It lets you lock the TV down a little bit more, but also allows you to install the software. comes on a USB drive. Just simply plug it into the TV and install the APK. And it's going to set up or install the software, and it's going to add again over 150 works of art to the TV. So you'll be loaded up. It takes about 2 minutes to install the software, and you're good to go.
Are you able to upload your own artwork?
Absolutely. So on that USB drive or any other USB drive down the line here, you can actually add on. You can just say, you want pictures of the family, vacation. You can just put those on a USB drive and plug them into the TV, and you are good to go.
So now, when it's the artwork, does that change like the picture settings kind of at all? Maybe put it more in like a artwork style, that kind of thing.
Correct. Yeah. When you go into the software, so you'll do some configuration on the software. That will you can set your matting about how big you want the mats and the borders to be. You'll set the what photos or pieces of art you want it to come up in the playlist, and then you'll be able to have that and when it goes into the frame setting, the frame app launches when you turn the TV off. It automatically goes to that photo mode, which is going to be really dialed in for to give you those pictures in the best light possible.
Okay. And I know that you guys did the Leon frames for the X93 previously. What made you kind of pick the Bravia 7 for this year's
lineup?
Yeah, no, it's that's a great one because one, we wanted to have a TV that had lots of sizes. Because when we had it for the X93, everybody was asking, "Where's the 60 or 65, 75? Great, where's 55? Where's an 85?" So the Bravia 7 comes in all of those sizes.
Okay.
It also really hits kind of that sweet spot of what people are oftentimes looking at putting in a living room. Maybe we want a TV that's bright, that's got great color, that's mini LED, really does well there. And so it from a size and use perspective, the Bravia 7 made for a great TV.
So is there anything different between the X93 frames compared to the frames that are going to be going on the Bravia 7s?
Yes, we made two very important changes. One, we improved the operation of the software, so it works even a little bit better, and it gives you a lot more artwork. And also, the two big changes we made were from listening to feedback from the field. From a software perspective, what everybody wanted is the ability to have an even border all the way around a piece of art. So nice thing is we give you this option because art, Van Gogh did not paint in 16 by 9. Mm-hmm. So when you go and you put a piece of art from Van Gogh or Monet on a 16 by 9 TV, the borders would not always be equal. Mm-hmm. So a lot of dealers asked for equal borders, so we did that. The other big change we made was the control system and how it operates from that perspective. Okay, so when we're installing these, does every TV get installed with a control system?
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully, but unfortunately, there's way too many TVs out there being sold with just the remote control. So when we designed the original frame, everybody said, "Hey, we're going to do this with just a control system." And then they start putting them out there in the field and realize, wait a minute, this customer is only using the infrared remote control. So instead of having to use an add-on third-party IR repeater system, the new frame does come with an integrated IR repeater, so that you're going to be able to operate this perfectly without needing that third-party control IR or control system.
Oh, okay, that's awesome. Okay. So for the Bravia 7 with the frame, would that be a standard mount or does it need a special mount? Anything like that?
So that's a great one. And this is one thing that we want to really look carefully at how we're mounting the TV, because we want to sit as close to that wall as possible, right?
Yep.
Yes.
So we have a dedicated mount that's made for our TVs called the SUW L900, which is actually the world's thinnest articulating wall mount. Now, if you want to use any third-party mount, go for it. If you want to use a mount that that goes flush in the wall, that's even better. But if you don't want to have to worry about trying to customize anything and you want that TV to sit as close to the wall as possible and make your installation as easy as possible, we definitely recommend using the 900 series mount because it's going to put the back of that frame less than half an inch from the wall. So super, super tight fit.
Right.
So it was built specifically for the Bravia 7s.
Absolutely. And it works with all of the Sony Bravia TVs all the way up through the 85s.
Okay.
But it's really going to give it that picture hanging on a wall look.
Absolutely.
And what kind of time frame are we expecting these? Because I actually wasn't sure until your email that they were going to come out for the Bravia 7. So what kind of time?
It is due to be shipping here anytime. We are hoping to have them out here by the end of November, early December timeframe. But again, this is also the great thing about it, though, is if you've got an installation where this could go, you can go ahead and put up that Bravia 7 now, and then come back when that frame is available and in stock.
Right. Yeah. So you can kind of pre-sell it, get it ready, and then just go in and finish it up with the frame.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Okay, so for the final question, what low-key product, or in this case technology, do you think dealers should know about that Sony offers them, maybe for a unique solution on the field?
Why? How much time do we have?
Well, all the time you need.
Because there's a couple of good ones here. The thing that I like to look at is we do have, I think, the most complete solutions in the business. As we kind of talked about a little bit earlier, we're making every bit of the film and video experience. We're making the audio experience, and it's the fact that we can kind of really bring those together. But I do love how we are again very focused on that here on the custom channel with our everything from the audio to the video side, the control aspects that are built in. The works with Sonos is absolutely one of my favorite features in the AVRs. For example, the fact that I can just pull out my phone, hit my Sonos app, and music comes on when and where I want it to. We get some really great sound performance and connectivity with those systems. And then one hidden feature I will tell you about, actually on the projectors that's new, is we've given you the ability to fix a very difficult installation. We get calls quite frequently saying, Andrew, hey, where's the keystone adjustment on this projector? I say, go get you a ladder, move something. Something is not put in right. But unfortunately, keystone is not necessarily our fault. Maybe the builder has the ball is not perfect or something. So we actually have given you a keystone adjustment now here in the Bravia 8 and Bravia 9. It's not one I like to talk about a lot because, again, I want you to install these right.
Right.
It's a new hidden feature that's there if you need it to help fix that installation.
For some tweaks.
Yes.
Yeah.
After it's properly installed.
Yeah.
There you go. Squared, leveled.
Yeah, I know my house walls aren't square, and it was built probably in the 1930s.
Yeah.
So not much you can do about that now.
Yeah, that happens. There's a lot of old homes in our area, and nice homes. We're really well built.
Yeah.
But sometimes you can tell if you're working on them that the walls aren't quite plumb.
Yeah.
And you think that some Italian guy was just there building it and kind of eyed it up and was like, looks good to me.
Looks good. Yep.
So,
That's it.
yeah.
Well, I think we've covered everything. I know you did talk about one website earlier. It was the Projector. Sorry, I can't remember what
Quite all right. We've got two great websites I would like for all of our dealers to go to. One is SonyPremiumHome.com. And at Sony Premium Home, we have all of the ES products, or we have the new projectors, we have the TVs, basically all the stuff that makes your life easier as a custom installer. And a really important link on there is our projector page has the projector simulator. So as much as I love the folks over at projectorcentral.com, I found where their measurements can be a little bit off versus ours. So I do recommend everybody bookmark that Projector Central. I'm sorry, not Projector Central, Projector Simulator on Sony Premium Home.
Okay.
Yeah, we can definitely link that down in the comments below.
That's great. And then the other one I would like for everybody to please go to is a little site called YouTube. We do have a Sony CIS YouTube channel where we do a lot of short videos. We try and keep everything under around 5 to 10 minutes. And hey, I've been out there in the field before. I am not a reader of instruction manuals. Show me a YouTube video on something and I can do that.
Are you the star of those videos?
I do get to add the title of social media influencer to my page because of some of those videos. My kids think that's really cool, but I'm like, oh gosh, no. One more thing for me to do.
Right.
I do enjoy shooting some of those videos, and we've got some. That my works with Sonos one there is the most popular at the moment, but lots of great videos.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll definitely link that too.
Well, we definitely appreciate you coming on and talking to us about the new Bravia 7s and the new projectors, and with the Leon frames also on the TVs. And you're welcome back anytime. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate it. I had a great time, and man, hope to see you guys out there in the field soon.
Oh, yes.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Andrew.
All right, Joel. Well, that is a wrap. What'd you think of that episode?
I thought it was very good. Andrew's was a very good guest, very knowledgeable about everything Sony, and I learned a lot.
Yeah, it was cool because they were telling us about how, from beginning to end, with all the things that Sony has a hand in, they're able to use all those technologies and, holistically approach, the things and the products that they're creating.
Yeah.
So if, they're making Sony cameras and Sony monitors, well, a lot of those movies end up being, in post-production, they end up being made on their monitors.
Right.
So they know what the monitors are going to look like, and then so they know how the projector should be, adjusted.
Right.
To look appropriate.
And the 4,000 nits was the normal studio monitor, and then now they're able to actually fully reproduce that on a projector.
Yeah. Yeah. And then he talked to us about the processing. That was great. Talked about the glass with it, the low dispersion glass, to avoid the chromatic aberration. And then, of course, gaming.
The gaming.
Projectors are good for gaming.
Yeah, I think that's awesome because there's so many families out there and they have a big theater room and the kids want to plug the PlayStation into it because I know I would. I'd want to see it on the biggest screen possible.
For sure. Yeah, if you were a kid, you would definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to play Grand Theft Auto on that. Yeah, I do it now too. I mean, I'd play, whatever. But the input lag, I mean, that's the thing I think that he was talking about, that, the 120 frames, everything's going to be able to, you push the button and it happens. It's not going to be laggy and the kids aren't going to complain.
Yeah, he said the difference is so minuscule. There's no way.
Yeah, it's basically
the difference.
Imperceptible.
Yeah. And then he went over the Bravia 7s with the Leon frames.
I think that's very cool technology. Well, we hope everyone enjoyed this as much as we did, and I hope you learned something, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.